Has there been a time in your life when you've been asked to do something new or thrown into a situation where you've had to just get on with things and you've got no idea what you're doing? I'm Helen Luxford, and today we're going to talk about learning cycles and what that means. So that question I just asked you, when you've been thrown in the deep end and you've had to do something, do you recall that time and how you felt about that? So today what we're going to talk about is unconscious and conscious competence. And I'll take you through a 4-step process so that you can understand what you go through when you're learning something new. Let's start with being unconsciously incompetent. What does that mean? So the start of the cycle is we're unconsciously incompetent when we don't know what we don't know. We've never been asked to do something before. It's not on our radar. It's of no interest to us. So unconsciously, we're incompetent because it doesn't really matter. It's not important to us. So we'll pop that down here, unconscious incompetence. So we're unconsciously incompetent because it doesn't matter, it doesn't affect our lives, it's really nothing at all. Then all of a sudden we're asked to do something, or we know that we need to step up, and we're now consciously incompetent. We're thinking, holy cow, how the heck am I going to get through this? How am I going to do it? Our brain goes into overdrive. We're thinking about, oh my goodness, I've never done this before. I don't know how. What am I going to do? I'm just not sure. So we're now consciously incompetent. So we move into this space here. So now that we're consciously incompetent, we're thinking about, how can I learn this new skill? How can I go about learning what I have to do? So we need assistance. We are aware now, so this is an awareness area. So down here, when we're unconsciously incompetent, we're unaware, it doesn't matter, it doesn't affect us. So down here, we're unaware. Up here, now that we're consciously incompetent, we're very aware. So we are aware here that we know we don't know. So we have to learn. So we need assistance. So up here, we're learning, we're getting assistance, and we're progressing. We're progressing now. We're on that road to progressing about what we have to learn. Then we become consciously competent. So now we're aware that we know what we know. So consciously competent. In this space, we've learnt from here. We've had someone teaching us. We're learning. We're taking notes. We can actually do the task, but we still have to think about it a little bit. So we're now doing the task. We might have made notes. We might still be getting some guidance from someone, but we can actually do the task. We can actually complete that task by ourselves. Whereas when we're consciously incompetent, we're still needing assistance down here. We're still needing people to help us. Once we step into the conscious competence, we can do the task by ourselves. Yes, we have to think about it. We might have to refer to our notes or the manual or the process document, but we can complete that task by ourselves. And once we've practiced it and we know what we're doing, we then become unconsciously competent. So we're back down here in the unconscious area, but we are competent. We can now do this task or this activity by ourselves without really thinking too much about it. So we are confident in our ability. We know what we're doing and we do it well. It's second nature to us. We can do it automatically. So second nature and automatic. So now that I've explained the 4 stages to you, let's put this into a real life situation. Something that most of us would be able to relate to is learning to drive a car. So do you remember that before we learnt to drive a car, it wasn't on our radar? Mum and Dad or someone else drove us around. We could get to where we needed to go to with public transport. It wasn't an issue for us that we were unconsciously incompetent in driving a car because it didn't affect us. And that's what unconsciously incompetent is. It's something that doesn't affect us. Then all of a sudden we get to our teenage years and we can see the independence that comes with driving a car, or later in life, and we decide that we want to learn how to drive a car. And that's when we get the holy cow moment, and it's like, oh my goodness, here we are now consciously incompetent. I know there's a car, I know people drive them, I don't know how to do it. I sit in the car behind the steering wheel, I'm looking at it's a manual car, so it's got a clutch, a brake and an accelerator, and I'm sitting there looking at the gear stick. I don't know where first gear is, I don't know where reverse is, I really don't know. So I'm very much in that consciously incompetent state. And it's like someone has to tell me, so put the key in the ignition, put your foot on the clutch, put the car in neutral. I don't even know what neutral is. So now I'm learning all about what I need to do. And so the instructor tells me how to start the car, how to engage the gears, how to move the car forward, how to use the brake, how to turn the indicators on for when I'm turning corners. And I'm now learning that. So I'm in that consciously incompetent, but I'm moving into the conscious competent state. So after a few lessons, I'm pretty good now. He doesn't have to, or she doesn't have to tell me, you know, accelerate now, brake now, put the clutch in, because I'm now starting to do that. Yes, I have to think about it. I'm driving, I've got the car in first gear, I release the clutch, I start to move the car forward, I put my foot on the accelerator, I can see an intersection coming up, so I learn to brake, I have to come back down through the gears. I'm thinking about it, but I know how to do it. I have to turn a corner and I have to put the indicator on and I have to brake at the same time and I have to change gears, and there's a lot going on, but I'm doing it by myself, even though the thought process is very much aligned to every movement that I make. Then after I get my license and I've been driving for a little while, I'm unconsciously competent. I just jump in the car and go. I don't even really think about anything anymore. You know, it's just second nature to me. Grab the keys, get in the car, start the car, off I go. And there'll be times where you'll have driven down the highway or driven from point A to point B, and you'll have just got there and you thought, oh, I didn't really notice whether something was happening in that park or that store that I drive past all the time, because you are unconsciously competent. And this is how we learn. This is our learning cycle. We go through the 4 stages when we're learning something new. And we start down here. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4. And we go through the cycle. And we become unconsciously competent in that task. So how does this relate to what we spoke about last time we caught up? We spoke about our learning zone, our comfort zone. So when we're stepping out of our comfort zone, we're going into this consciously incompetent area. And that's the fear zone. When we spoke about the comfort zone, the fear zone, the learning zone, and the growth zone. Where in the fear zone is this consciously incompetent. And this is where all the fears can come up. Do I really want to learn how to drive a car? What if I bunny hop down the road and one of my friends see me and they laugh at me? All of those fears that come up in that fear zone. But as you get more practice, as you push through that fear zone, you move into the consciously competent. That's your learning zone. So when you're in your learning zone, yes, you have to follow processes and you might refer to your notes, whatever it might be, but you are learning and you are growing, you are stretching your comfort zone. And then when you get into that growth zone, you're down here in this unconsciously competent zone. So you are now second nature. You can do this. You can teach others in that growth zone. And what that means is your comfort zone has grown and stretched. So I hope that the explanation from last time around comfort zone, fear zone, learning zone, and growth zone, and how I've applied it to our unconscious incompetence, consciously incompetent, consciously competent, and then unconsciously competent. I hope that that can relate and you understand that it is our nature, it is human nature to go through those areas and those fears and to push through into that learning in order for us to become more rounded individuals and to learn things that inspire us and to learn things that make us happy and that lift us up and that give us joy in our life. So don't let fear hold you back if you're learning something new. Just remember the comfort zone, the fear zone, the learning zone, the growth zone, and then apply these principles here, the unconscious competence life cycle on how we learn. And just know that when you're consciously incompetent, that's okay, because now you're aware of something that you weren't aware of before. And then you can move into this conscious competence. So let me apply this to another area that you might relate to. When you're a graduate and you've finished your university and you're going to work for the first time, you are going to be in this consciously incompetent state because you know that you've done your degree, but you haven't applied those skills in the workplace. So you're going to be soaking up knowledge in this consciously incompetent state, soaking it in. You're in that learning zone. You're consciously incompetent, so you want to get competent. So you're learning and you're taking notes. And then you move into here. You don't need the guidance and someone overseeing what you're doing because you've now taken the notes. You've now got some knowledge and you're applying it. And the more you apply it, the more you practice it, the better you get. And you move from the learning zone into the growth zone, which is where you become unconsciously competent. So think about something in your career, that very first time that you did it, and where you were in this cycle and where you are now. And you're probably teaching others similar things. So you're down here in this unconsciously competent state because it's second nature to you. You're in your growth zone. You've expanded your comfort zone and you are now growing and developing more and more each day. So apply this to the people you work with, apply it to your family, apply it to your friends, help them move through the cycle, help them understand that they need to push through any fear that might be coming at them and that they've got support from you or others that have been on the journey before them, that have more knowledge that can help them get through that into the consciously competent and then into the unconsciously competent state. I'm Helen Luxford. I'm a hypnotherapist and coach. And if you'd like me to help you with anything on your learning zone, your comfort zone, or anything else, just let me know. In the meantime, I'd really like to hear one of your stories or a short little brief note on something that you've learned in life where you can now look back and apply this model to it. Put some comments and notes below to help others learn and understand what you've been through so that they can relate to it too. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.